I'm definitely a strong advocate, actually just diving right into it as a proponent of, with federal reformation, whatever that looks like, is removing the word marijuana from any mention in any federal law, which I just think is
interesting.
Yep. So we'll start there. But anyway,
I'm all about removing the word dope. I don't mind the word marijuana or cannabis, but I try to remove the word dope because I don't like the connotation.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about weed?
Weed as well is kind of negative.
Yeah.
Not as bad as dope.
Yeah. Not as bad as dope.
There's products that make you a dope. Marijuana, I don't find any of the fuddy-duddies that I deal with are using it contextually because they want to be derogatory towards Mexicans. So I just kind of leave it alone.
And I think.
We are back at MITA Unshackled Emerald Conference, San Diego 2024, interviewing people at the conference and letting you know who's doing what, who's doing some interesting things in the cannabis industry. See, the keynote speaker just walked out over there. We got to get him. But I am pleased to be joined today with Professor Jacquie Cohen Roth.
Yeah, not really professor, but maybe so.
I like it. Well, some of you call me Professor Downing. I don't have a
I don't know. Or the unicorn. That's my new handle.
So Jacquie, how are you enjoying San Diego?
Yeah, well, the weather, finally the wind died down, and had a call this morning, and it's rainy and 40, so sunny and no humidity, sure beats that. Plus geeking out here.
So we were talking last night. There was a networking event last night. This is the best part about coming to these conferences. You got to go to these networking events. You meet all kinds of fascinating people. And Jacquie, you're from Maryland, right?
Correct. We're Maryland-based. Yes.
Right. So tell us a little bit about Jacquie, and then we're going to lead that how you got into the cannabis industry and focus on TPAD at the end.
Yes. Okay. My participation in the cannabis industry goes back decades.
This is Unshackled, so you can talk about high school use, how you used to import from.
Did you say I can or cannot talk about that?
No, you can.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
How you used to export from San Diego and Tucson to Maryland. That pipeline. That's
a conversation I had with getting a pedicure.
Okay.
Guy gave me his whole route story from. But anyway, that's another story.
No. I went to Boston University and I used to ship from Tucson. My brother used to ship from Tucson. I was at Boston University. It is what it is. Those are the 90s.
Stuff's going on.
That's that Unshackled.
But in any event, so my story, introduced, first time I used weed was when I used that one-on-one, but it is cannabis.
Yes.
I'm definitely a strong advocate, actually just diving right into it as a proponent of, with federal reformation, whatever that looks like, is removing the word marijuana from any mention in any federal law, which I just think is
interesting.
Yep. So we'll start there. But anyway,
I'm all about removing the word dope. I don't mind the word marijuana or cannabis, but I try to remove the word dope because I don't like the connotation.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about weed?
Weed as well is kind of negative.
Yeah.
Not as bad as dope.
Not as bad as dope.
There's products that make you a dope. Marijuana, I don't find any of the fuddy-duddies that I deal with are using it contextually because they want to be derogatory towards Mexicans. So I just kind of leave it alone.
And I think, within our industry and every state, as we talk about this patchwork of state regulations, some are marijuana, some are cannabis.
Yeah.
And I think in the industry, we're using that interchangeable. I used to be, really, no pun intended, but high on the horse on calling it cannabis, not marijuana, because of the pejorative history.
Well, when I found, and we'll go back to you in 1 second.
Yes.
I promise this would be not you. What I found in 2012, 13, 14, when I started on the heavy advocacy trail, I found all these individuals. If you said cannabis, you lost your audience. If you said marijuana, they said, okay, let's talk about marijuana policy. But had I found, or if I ever found somebody who said, I'm going to call it marijuana because I don't like Mexicans, I would have called them out on it. But all those people are dead. You know what I'm saying? They're all gone. No one says marijuana because I don't like Mexicans. It's just something that's around.
True.
See what I'm saying?
And the difference between that HUANA versus the JUANA, which the original pejorative was Huana.
Yeah, and I have a good friend who started a brand called Mary
Uh-huh.
E. Juana. It's here in California.
Uh-huh.
It's out of Santa Ana, and they want to flood into the Mexican market. And so, down there all over Mexico, you have people who love the word marijuana. And so they're Mari y Juana, but it's spread out. So it's, anyways, go ahead. Back to you.
Okay, so back to me.
Yes.
Yes. So 13, throughout high school when it was available, we never hear about Thai sticks. Thai sticks, yeah,
What are those?
THAI. I mean, they were literally on a stick. Buds, probably some hash on those.
East Coast thing.
Yeah, we're talking 1978. But anyway, college, and then it was actually college use, and more so, I raised my kids. I have three daughters who I refer to now as grown-ass women, which is what they are. But they were raised with mommy spices in the freezer.
Nice.
And so, when that stupid dare dog was walking through the elementary school when they got home, I chatted with them about recognizing and understanding addictions. Their great grandmother, an alcoholic, mental health in the family. Alcohol doesn't work for some people, and then I'm really proud of the fact is that as adults, they have said, "Mom, thanks for not being a hypocrite." I just was as best I could be, but out in the open, certainly in the home. And then, sure, when I read the Maryland laws and learned that I think it was 10, my oldest one, is that she could be left at home in charge of her younger sisters, that I found that little roach in the car, and Mom took a drive around the block and calmed down.
So what year was that?
That would have been, 2000, 1995, thereabouts.
Okay, cool.
90s, yeah. I mean, and then I was on the retail side of things for quite some time.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
now
you.
we're talking. Now we're getting to the unshackled part.
Yeah.
Look, all that stuff, statute of limitations, it's all gone. Even
Yeah, I mean, it gives you street cred now, right?
it does give you street cred. She's got street cred. She was on the retail side of things. She's an OG. She's legacy. That's
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah.
No, but you gotta talk about that stuff because even U.S. attorneys nowadays. I have some U.S. attorney friends in Southern Arizona. They tell me how there's still loads coming across the border in the form of oil now more than anything else, and bales, but they don't even bother with marijuana prosecution. They'll only include it like as a lesser included. So nobody's going to reach back in your past and talk about that major load that she brought from San Diego to Maryland. I'm just kidding. So how did you get into to keep going?
So I am I am a unicorn. Is that I'm at an age where I say I own every bit of hubris that I deserve. I was pre-med. My big sisters told me, "Jackie, never smoke weed. You'll never get into medical school." My father was a physician. My sister's one now. So growing up, buying into that stigma or fear of my big sister, I'm going to see in a couple days. So having that clinical mind, but also then I was pre-med and moved over to economics and international policy studies. Got back into the clinical space, but all along that way, of course, Mommy Spices were in play. I'm a policy geek, so I was following legalization in California. I started off in banking, was my first career, then studied architecture.
Yeah. So you're in the East Coast watching what's happening on the West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast, and then got into conventional healthcare with ultimately I had a company, Mojo Media was the name of it, for about 20 years, where the focus was, or the audience were physicians and healthcare providers in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia market. And so introducing in our magazine that I was publishing, as well as working with players like Johns Hopkins Medicine, University of Maryland Medical System, all the big players in the DMV region on physician engagement strategies. And so introducing this idea of medical cannabis, understanding our audience is very conservative. Again, growing up in a clinical house, growing up literally not literally, pretty much, but in a microbiology lab. My father was a pathologist. So all of these things came into play. Everything
that
coming
together.
Yeah. And I have built a career where ultimately, can't say ultimately, but then in 2019, I'd launched Cannabis MD, my first, this was my whatever number startup at my first in the regulated market, where I recognized a void and a need for well-regarded content and education content for physicians and healthcare stakeholders on medical cannabis. And anyway, that was the birth of Cannabis MD.
What year was that?
That was conceptualized in 2017. And actually, the site went live in 2018. 2019, I knew that this program was in development at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy,
Okay.
and I interviewed the dean at that time, Dean Natalie Eddington, on this program, the first graduate program in medical cannabis science and therapeutics on the planet. And I walked out of that interview and said, I need to find the time and the resources and get over my imposter syndrome and go back to go to grad school. And so now I have a Master's of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics from top 10 School of Pharmacy in the country.
Wow, that's excellent. So you must
Yeah.
be one of the first 7 master's
First
degree in
cohort.
cannabis.
Yeah, Mike Hennessy. We did the beach cleanup yesterday together. So yeah, it was very, very exciting, or it continues to be. And now I'm an adjunct professor with coursework focused on federal and state cannabis laws and policies.
I think we've interviewed Mike Hennessy. What year did Maryland go medical?
2017.
2017. And now it went adult use in 2023.
Correct.
2017, 2023. So
Yeah, and I was Truliev's first adult use consumer, and that was quite an early cool experience.
okay.
July 1, 2023. Grew 2 clones out of that. The ladies, that's a whole other story on the clones that I grew.
So were you the first person to buy at the store?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it was very cool. And Kim Rivers, who I admittedly have a lady boss girl crush on, introduced me at the ribbon cutting to literally go in and make that first purchase.
Very good. How many? Well, it doesn't matter how many stores they have. I'm sure they have plenty. So let's talk about
Yeah, and T-Pad. That's why.
T-Pad.
T-Pad, yeah.
Is that T-Pad's your main project now?
No.
No, it's
No,
not.
I have several. Yeah,
Okay.
the
Well, we
crazy.
can go through all your projects. but
Yeah,
I
the
wanted to,
yeah.
Because last time we were talking about T-Pad, and I want to talk about
Yes. So T-Pad was born in 2019, and how that came to be actually was I had was having one of my educational focused programs for Cannabis MD. It was Cannabis and Innovation. Nobody, believe it or not, in 2019 was really talking about it unless you were in the industry. But in any event, I had given a law firm exclusivity, which I learned never do that again on a sponsorship. And another group came to me and said, hey, Jackie, we want to be part of what you're doing. And I said, well, I've got this idea that I've been kicking around, a networking group, but focused on advocacy for equitable participation in the cannabis industry. And so T-Pad was born from that, where I had read about T-Pads were essentially weed speakeasies in the 1920s and 30s, these were spaces where folks of all racial background got together, enjoyed weed, music, danced, and American jazz was born, with the music and lyrics being the foundation of the civil rights movement. So I put all this together and reinvented T-Pads, where it's live jazz, good eats, plentiful libations, and provocative conversation every T-Pad. It started off as a social enterprise. We're now a 501c3, and raising funds for the T-Pad Fellowship Program. That is essentially, and very simplistically, a paid internship in focusing cannabis STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and medicine for women and BIPOC.
So T-Pads, so you guys are doing networking?
These pop-ups is what they are, yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you doing, what cities, what states?
Yeah, so
what's
throughout
your-
Maryland.
It sounds interesting, like something.
No,
somebody-
there's nothing like it, There's nothing like it. And I can say that definitively and proudly. Consumption, we've done one, we're complying with state regulations, and it's a 501c3, so I'm especially paying attention to federal and state regulations. But so throughout Maryland, D.C., New Jersey, Boston, planning going to Atlanta, loved Detroit's in conversation. So cities most harmed by the war on drugs is raising awareness of the need for advocacy to establish equitable participation
So, but the T-pads are open to all members of the industry, even if they're not
Correct.
interested.
Right.
In
They are. No pun intended, but more so of a higher level networking. As somebody said to me, there's another networking organization, and if you in Maryland, and if you want to meet the owner operators, if you want to make deals, you go to TPAD. But we also have folks that are interested in being whether an aspiring entrepreneur, getting into the industry. I say at every TPAD, I can guarantee somebody gets a job and at least one deal is made.
This sounds a lot like MITA meetups.
It does.
Sounds,
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like Cannapack meetups.
But we have live jazz going on.
That sounds cool.
Yep. Plentiful libations.
You know, we've tried to
Good
do
eats.
live jazz at our meetas.
Yeah.
But it always, cost prohibitive. You know. We're
Oh
trying to keep
yeah,
it-
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have probably funded a fellow for that and by now. But they're really positive effect. We are already empowering without having funded a fellow yet. Where the provocative conversation comes in. We had one March 14th where I say there's a lot of synchronicity and magic that comes from TPAD, which good karma. And so it happened that March 14th was the day that the lottery was drawn for 179 new licenses in the state of Maryland, specifically and exclusively for social equity applicants. And I had already scheduled that date, had already scheduled with Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who is chair of Maryland's Legislative Black Caucus, the largest and most powerful Black caucus in the U.S. And if not for Maryland's Legislative Black Caucus, there would not be 179 new cannabis licenses for social equity.
We should
folks.
Do somebody's going to help us do a MITA in Maryland. They want to do a MITA in Maryland. I really don't care that much, but
Partner.
Yeah, we should do something
Partner.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good networking groups. And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of education, whether it's scientific, medicinal, social equity based. There's a lot of different themes in the cannabis industry. We always try to give a component in our meetups to education. Sometimes talk about solar energy. Sometimes we would APS did solar energy. I'm trying to think of the last ones that were done. The last one we did was actually about what went wrong and what went right in social equity, which would fit into that theme. But it seems like we could work together on something like this.
Yeah, and that's where cannabis, different from the education that Cannabis MD delivers, is TPAD, 501c3, very social equity focused, equitable participation.
So-
and then Cannabis MD is my for-profit, which is very much
Cannabis MD.
Yes, and the MD is for medical. I was very clever sometimes, perhaps. I mean, it's great right now, but the MD is for medical. But I launched when the medical market went live in Maryland to support the nascent medical program.
I'm a big believer in medical cannabis. I believe in all.
Huge. If you want to be successful in the industry, focus on medical.
Spent 3 years, 2012, 2015, understanding cannabis, substance abuse policy. And I came to the grand conclusion that all substance use is therapeutical in nature. And the goal in life is to be substance free. And if you can
What about
achieve
harm
that ideal-
reduction?
Well, what do you mean? What's the harm?
No, but yeah, I mean, if you're saying the goal is to be substance
Substance-free,
free.
yes.
But what about is recognizing? I mean, we have a whole huge pharmaceutical industry that people are on prescribed substances.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, sometimes there's something that cannot be healed.
Yeah.
Sometimes, let's say like cholesterol. I don't know. Although I'm not necessarily a believer that you absolutely need to be on cholesterol medication the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But I'll trust the science enough to say that you have to. Okay, so then you have to be on cholesterol the rest of your life. An ideal world is not to be on cholesterol. So what can you do in health and habits and lifestyle to eliminate the need for the cholesterol drug? So what can you do in health and habits and lifestyle to eliminate the need for cannabis, to eliminate the need for alcohol, to eliminate the need for coffee and every other substance so that you're not dependent on that? That's the ideal vision.
I disagree with that.
Really?
I really, truly do. Is that, it's human brain chemistry.
Right.
It's that if things aren't connecting right, I mean, why should you be a tortured soul if there's a plant-based product that can help you have a far better, productive, happier life?
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
So there's something wrong with you that is not going to change.
This
that
is
you
like
need
your
you need to fix, which is all good.
well, who's identifying, who's right or wrong?
Well, it's all about. I mean, what is a balanced life? What is an excellent
Yes,
life?
yeah,
If you can achieve perfection without the use of a substance, especially alcohol.
True,
why
right? It's all
not?
right. I mean, and let's,
I just think of like if I could wave a magic wand and teach my son anything in the world about substances, what would I say? I'd say, look, don't let them hook you on coffee. Don't let them hook you on alcohol. If you're going to be hooked on something, be hooked on cannabis, but don't let the commercial
No, I would
markets.
say not as a, and that's a whole other conversation for what the conversation I would have with my daughters now about cannabis use. So, I mean, they're my daughters, they're not my sons, and that would have been a whole other different conversation.
Yeah. And like one of our goals at MITA is not to promote cannabis use.
Yeah.
It's to promote truth, what we believe is truth, and to promote access and choice.
Yes.
And people's
Sounds reasonable.
right to access cannabis or coffee or alcohol or anything else that helps them fix that problem. But the goal is to fix the problem. And if you can fix the problem, fix it. If you can't fix it, then by all means, use heroin if you need to fix the problem so that you can have a balanced, excellent life.
As long as there's no societal harm.
Exactly. And cannabis, my God, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I can't believe what the alcohol industry got away with. Societal harm. We're encouraging people all the time to consume alcohol, to have a good time, and a whole bunch of other reasons. And the societal harm is tremendous. The cannabis community, this is one thing I realized, the cannabis community, the societal harm is like none.
Yeah.
It's just
chilling out and having really interesting conversations about Adam Smith last night.
Yes, and we're gonna have a whole segment on Adam Smith.
And Adam Smith being, well, let's say the foundation of who Adam Smith being the economist who wrote.
So you are a really interesting
1776.
person. LinkedIn.
Yes.
How do people get in touch with you?
My name, Jacquie, Cohen, Cohen, Roth, Roth.
Okay, and www.cannabismd.com?
CANNABIZMD.com, and then TPAD is TEAPAD.co.
Okay,
CO.
any other websites or social media that you want to mention?
Yeah, thanks. Let's see. IG for both. So it's cannabis.md, and then TPAD is _TEAPAD. And again, TPAD, two separate words. TEA, then PAD.
PAD was my law school fraternity. Well, you're definitely got a follower in me. And
Awesome,
one thing I do while we're talking, Thai Sticks, good brand name. Jackie's Finest, good brand name
Mommy
out there.
Spices,
Mommy
I've already
Spices.
secured that URL.
Okay, good brand name. There's something with Mojo.
Oh,
in
and
there.
Mojo. Well, I'm Mojo Jack. My personal, I am Mojo Jack.
Jackie's Mojo.
Yeah.
There's another brand name there.
Oh, I've got a new one too. I have a 3-month-old granddaughter, so we've got Grandmommy Spices.
Grandmommy Spices. That's good. And
Bubby Spices.
And somebody needs to take DARE, the old
DARE, the most expensive failed education program.
But turn that into a brand.
Oh, that's great! I could see where they wrote DARE. It was like it was on fire.
Yeah. Why do you call it DARE? Is it DARE or DARE? No, it's DARE. Like then they'll talk. So it's a good story. Anyways, I love coming up with brand names while I'm doing this.
Me too. I've got too many URLs.
So consume Jackie's Finest.
With the QUIE.
Grandmommy Spice.
Bubby Spice.
It's a pleasure to get to know you here
same.
at Emerald Conference. We'll be back with you hopefully later, and we'll talk about some Adam Smith free market economics.
Yes.
And
the invisible hand.
Yes. It's a long story. So we will be back with another individual here at Emerald Conference in San Diego. Thank you for joining us on MITA Unshackled.
Great. Thank you.